to Flite Test. I'm Alex, and this is Peter, and that's Josh.
Hi, guys.
And today we wanted to show you a couple different ways to custom fabricate some custom mods for your quads.
I see the word custom a lot.
I think anything you make by your hands is pretty much considered custom these days.
Yeah, so we got two things today, right?
Yeah, we have two things. One is solid and one is rubbery.
Yes.
And they're both available at Amazon, and no, this is not a paid commercial.
Yeah, and they're actually pretty cheap. We got this big old bucket that we've actually been using for years now.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Is this actually originally from Chad?
I think so, yeah.
This is Chad's original stash of instruments.
Yeah, if you check out the Flite Test Gremlin channel, he has a video on there about it.
Yes.
But pretty cool stuff. So basically the deal is you take these little pellets, you pour them into hot water,
Yes.
near boiling, steaming
yourself.
water. You gotta be careful, and it liquefies it, turns it into like clear liquid.
Yeah.
And you can mold it into whatever kind of parts you have. So I did these. These are actually little GoPro mounts.
Yeah.
I use them for
How'd you do it?
use them for my quad. So basically, you just mold it out, and what you want to do is make it into the basic shape. You'll notice pretty quickly that it always ends up looking kind of like a glob.
Yeah.
But basically, with this, I just put it on the flat surface, and then you press the GoPro into it and get the angle that you want, and then you let it dry. And then once it's dry, from there, I just trim the excess off, because you'll notice when you start getting a lot of this stuff, it is a little bit heavy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to trim as much of it as I could off, and it actually makes a nice little wedge.
Now you use a jigsaw, not a, or jigsaw or bandsaw, but not a sander, right?
Correct. Yeah, the sander, at least the one that we had, it was melting it a little bit, so you got to be careful with that.
Okay.
But it is pretty easy to work with.
Yeah. It's really cool stuff, and a lot of times people have different skill levels and want different angles with their cameras.
Yeah.
And this is a really good way to customize it.
Yeah, and it can be used to make all kinds of stuff. Some useless and some really useful.
Peter, what do you do, man?
What I do with mine is actually, speaking of the old Chad days,
Yeah.
I actually saw this on one of the connectors. I saw this thingamajig I pulled out of the box. It had a bunch of this Instamorph on it. It was on a connector. I was like, you know, that's kind of a neat idea. So what I did is like had a bunch of these connectors floating around. Like I make my own like series to parallel, XT90 to XT60 adapters, and you just make your own connectors out of them. But the nice thing about the Instamorph is when you morph it around there, this stuff is very, very hard. It makes it very resilient, so you're not relying on the solder itself to support the way the connector and the connection, so you're not unlikely to break it and have your solder joints fail in flight. So it takes all the strain off of there and it works great.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly durable. We actually have used Instamorph actually since the beginning of Flite Test. Actually, our audio boom pole that we use for the video production guys, it has a custom-made mount that I think Chad also made, and we've been using it.
Chad loves Instamorph.
We've been using it every shoot for the past 3 or 4 years, and it has not broke once.
You just took a 1/4 bolt, put it in here, and then wrapped it around the end, let it dry, and it's still solid as the day it was made.
Yeah, so it's good for all kinds of different stuff. Now, your stuff that you like is a little bit different.
It's rubbery, but what this is shoe glue. And
Shoe glue.
Our good friend Aaron Bates also likes shoe glue too, and he used shoe glue on the back of his transmitter for his Super Honey Badger.
Yeah,
and he
that
could
was
control all the
crazy.
features.
On his terrain, his transmitter, he had all
Yes.
kinds of custom buttons. Looked like a video game controller.
And what he did is he actually hot glued the buttons in place where he liked them, and then after he was done, he wrapped it around with shoe glue. And shoe glue is kind of special because it's a little bit more rubbery. What I did with mine here was a couple things. I did a repair on your Grapner MZ18. One bad thing about radios is with the movable antenna, oftentimes they get dropped or they get broken.
Yes.
This is a really good way you can actually fix it by molding it, and you can actually keep it turning and movable, and it's still rubbery enough so if it does take a hit, it doesn't transfer that load down lower and break again for you.
Yep.
Another thing we did is on the new Versacopter, I had an XT60 passing through the top on the race version, and you don't want that to move around, but you do want it to be a little bit pliable. So what I took was some simple shoe glue, I molded it around the XT60, and it actually glues it to the top plate, but it keeps it a little bit rubbery, so when you're plugging it in and taking it off, it can still move a little bit. It's not going to fatigue the connector, but it holds it very nicely. Another function I've done is I beat it up into 2 round little balls, stuck it down, pushed the GoPro much like what you did, and I have 2 little vibration dampening balls to give me the angle I want on my GoPro.
I would say the Subaru is probably a little bit easier to work with when you're molding it,
Yes.
compared to the Instamorph, but the Instamorph ends up being a lot harder and also a little bit more durable, I'd say.
A little more durable. Yep. One is a glue that doesn't really stick to anything. It has to kind of shrink
Yes.
around it, right?
Yep.
Where the shoe glue will stick to stuff and stay pliable. Your imagination is a limit with this stuff, but it's really nice because multi-rotors and the racers, everyone has their own custom blend of electronics. Nothing really fits together, so you got to kind of get a little bit customized to make it all work.
Yeah, you're seeing a ton of 3D printing these days, and for those of you people out there who don't have access to a 3D printer, this stuff is great. It's like 3D printing with your hands.
Yeah, it's also really good for prototyping too, like an early prototype. If you just want to test out a concept, you know, before you invest your time drawing it up in CAD or whatever programs you use to do it on the computer. This is great to try it out first with your hands.
So guys, if you're wondering about this stuff, check the links down below. This isn't a paid advertisement,
Yep.
but we really love this stuff.
Yeah, and if you guys have any great ideas, because we all know that you're a lot more creative than we are,
Yeah.
post some articles on flitetest.com.
All right, and we want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.